didn't think Eric Bieniemy wasn't getting a head coaching job next season, we're here to tell you why that's now incorrect line of thinking. Coming up shortly here on the award-winning podcast, Hot Off the Field with Turf and Dylan. Ran out of breath. I mean, Strikeout Beer's already here. That was easy. That was just like, hey, you started the show, we're ready to roll. Like
there you
usual.
go.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Whoever comes in here later, whoever listens to the podcast later, whatever the case may be, thank you for tuning in. Always to On and Off the Field. If you didn't know, the blog is pretty much kind of back. I wrote a blog today.
Very nice.
Took a lot of time.
Yeah.
I think I have to come up with a new format because I can't dedicate that many hours of my day. It was exhausting.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it's only like one paragraph per team, but that's 32 paragraphs. That's like a book.
That's a lot of paragraphs, yeah.
It's a lot of paragraphs. We got fire in the chat from Strikeout Beer. I'm trying to think of something to ask them. Oh, well, I guess while Strikeout Beer's here, we'll do this real quick before we get to our flossing. I picked up this from Wegmans.
Oh, yeah.
Lieutenant Dan from War Horse Brewing Company.
Which is actually a part of Three Brothers Winery.
Is it?
The brewery, they made the brewery. I've done the tour at Three Brothers Winery, and the story they told us was that they came up with the War Horse brewing in like kind of recognizing their grandfather who was in the war. So,
it's a winery and a brewery. Are they in the same place? Because I know War Horse is in Geneva, right? I can look at it real quick.
I know it's somewhere.
Yeah, Geneva, New York, yeah.
Yeah, it's more like one big complex of like the winery has like 3 different buildings of like different styles of wine, and then you have the brewery right there. And then there's like a little sit-down restaurant there too.
I want to go.
It's a lot of fun.
I want to go to that one. We're going to put that on our list to go to. And I pulled this beer out randomly for this show.
Uh-huh.
Like I had like 3 more left. I didn't know which one. I just kind of picked one. And this one has like a really cool story on it. And Veterans Day is tomorrow. Some people call it Remembrance Day, Veterans Day, whatever you want to call it. This one's got like a fun little story on it for Lieutenant Dan and the 442nd Go for Broke. Basically, it's about this Japanese American. His name was Daniel Inouye. That was his last name. I don't know how to pronounce it. He was living in Honolulu. He was 17 years old, living in Honolulu when Pearl Harbor was attacked. He was a first aid teacher, so he took off, spent 5 days working on the wounded at Pearl Harbor, and then he actually enlisted in the Army. And FDR created 2 all-Japanese American units. So in April of 1945, Daniel and his men were pinned down by 3 machine guns on a hill in Italy when Lieutenant Dan charged the machine gun nests with a Thompson and a bag of grenades. He was shot in the stomach, knocking out the first 2, and then in the elbow while trying to throw his last grenade. But then Lieutenant Dan picked up the grenade in his other hand and blew up the 3rd machine gun nest.
Wow.
So he ended up getting a Purple Heart and served 50 years as a U.S. Senator.
Wow.
Happy Veterans Day, everybody.
That's impressive there.
Well, tomorrow's Happy Veterans Day.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have a show tomorrow.
No.
So there's your story, you know. I mean, Veterans Day. What a day.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess the least everyone can do is give veterans their free meals. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Go to Dunkin' Donuts and then go over to like Moe's, get your burrito.
Yeah.
And then go somewhere nice and fancy for dinner.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
Sounds like a good plan.
I normally don't try and take too much benefit of those. I try to leave those available for people that actually did something with their service. Maybe I'll go get my free donut, but I leave that available for everybody else, for people like Lieutenant Dan, who, got a Purple Heart. Those are the heroes, folks.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So that was story time. We're going to learn to floss right now. Make sure how to floss. You got to floss, recommended by 10 out of 10 podcasters, which is follow, like, observe, subscribe, and share. And Durf can tell you all this skitty on that.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can follow, like, observe, and share on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at On and Off the Field or OOTF Podcast. And you can subscribe to our YouTube and Twitch channel, which we are currently live on, where you can see us live, watch past episodes, and see that extra content you all want. Make sure to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts so that we know how we're doing and what you like or dislike about the show. And you can find all of these links at onandoffthefield.com, along with our fundraising efforts, our sweet merchandise, and to learn more about Dylan, myself, and this award-winning show.
Award-winning, folks. Award-winning show. Never forget that. onandoffthefield.com, home of the blogs, the merch, the abouts, everything. Literally all of it. So if you're ever
all
just
the
wondering,
links you ever need.
And the fundraisers that we're doing, all of it. So if you ever you just come across this live show or the podcast, you're like, I like them. Let's learn a little bit more. onandoffthefield.com. Super easy. All righty. I guess we got a little bit of a coincidence here for fantasy football. Just a little, it's a little odd, but makes sense at the same time.
Yeah.
Apparently, Durf has the same record as the Buffalo Bills.
7-2, baby.
Are you back in first place with this record?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't look.
Oh, no?
I know okay. I pulled out the win this week after some of the guys in the league are getting a little pushy about how no one's stopping me yet.
I can't stop. I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop a cat from bowling through me right now.
The sad part is that my entire bench scored nothing because that's where my starting lineup is. It's not good right now. This week could be rough for me.
Still winning.
Yeah, but
I think you got a couple games you could drop though. I think you'll be all right.
Oh,
even if you lose one week, I think you have a solid 2 or 3 game lead in the division right now.
I'm still in second.
Okay.
Looks like just points for is holding me back a little bit. I'm not scoring as many points as the first place guy, but second place not bad.
Hey, 7-2.
7-2,
better than where I'm at. I'm 1-8 in one of my other leagues.
Ooh.
So yeah, that's fun.
Rough.
This is the league I'm doing the best in by far, and that's not really saying much. So yeah, since we're already 10 minutes in the show. Something we're dedicating ourselves to a little bit moving forward since it's football season. We're going to take a break on other sports, like doing the other sports. We're going to be taking a small hiatus, except for today. This will be the last bit of other news sports that we're probably going to give, because then we're just going to be jumping into NFL stuff right off the bat. Yeah. There's so much of it going on.
Oh, there's so much now.
Between that and us getting derailed constantly, like they're turning into almost 2-hour shows. Well, it's supposed to be a 1-hour show.
Bring it back a little bit.
Gotta reel it in. So we're gonna save ourselves a little bit of time because we don't want to I'm gonna say like my one and only curse word for the night, half-ass the content. Right. I don't want to do the other sports and rush through it. So we're just gonna get rid of the other sports for now. Once the NFL season's over. Or at least it leaves time for us to talk about other sports.
Yeah.
And maybe in the playoffs there's less games.
Yeah.
But for right now, other sports, all we got right now is the SEC announced today that they've called off Saturday's Alabama at LSU and the Texas A&M and Tennessee games as a result of COVID-19 testing, depleting the LSU Tigers and Texas A&M Aggies rosters. In addition, they also announced on Monday that the Auburn-Mississippi State game will be postponed. Auburn and Mississippi State and Texas A&M and Tennessee have been rescheduled for December 12th. LSU already has a game scheduled on December 12th against the Florida Gators. So that game, I would assume, is in jeopardy.
Oh, yeah.
Of even happening.
Yeah, December 12th is kind of the cutoff line because of Selection Sunday. Believe being the 13th. For all the college football playoffs, all the bowl games that are like the next week, 2 weekends after that, and then all the way through just after New Year's. But yeah, that's COVID's hitting the college football scene pretty hard right now. I can only imagine what Notre Dame's going to be like in another week or so.
Yeah, I mean, the Pac-12 we talked about last week, they got obliterated. A couple of those games are already not happening first week of getting started.
Yep.
And these are all SEC teams, right? Is that
yes?
My understanding. Oh, it says right at the beginning of the SEC.
Yeah.
That's not great.
No,
the SEC was the one conference that seemed like it was kind of cruising. You know, they're kind of just doing their thing. Mm-hmm. Games were happening for the most part. That and the ACC, with the exception of Trevor Lawrence. The ACC and the SEC just seemed like they were going to be fine. But this is a problem, especially with LSU Alabama. That's a big game.
That is a big game.
That's like playoff implication kind of game.
Yeah.
You know what? I retract that statement. I retract that. Yeah, never mind.
LSU is not so hot this year, but normally this is still a very big school rivalry game.
I hate that word. Don't you hate that word?
Rivalry?
Yeah. I always have to slow down to say it.
Yeah. I mean, I have a stuttering problem, and I have to slow down because that's all it sounds like when I talk too fast.
I'm just like mentally handicapped. I can't say that word. That's just one of those words where my tongue just doesn't work right. I always, if I'm talking really fast and going through this speed, I'm talking about all these things, and and the Alabama LSU game is a big rivalry. Every time, I hate that word. I don't know why. Because normally it'll turn out, if I say it fast, like Rivoli. That's what it sounds like.
Yep.
But yeah, so I retract that statement. Yeah, LSU's bad this year. Mm-hmm. But you can't really blame them. This is what I fully expected to happen. Every single starter from their roster last year, at least on offense, I believe, every starter was drafted into the NFL. Every single starter.
Yep. That's you can't replace that in an offseason that we had, especially the offseason that we had,
right?
Or the college football had, or anyone had in general for this past spring. Like, you just can't recoup that. Like, they can't just be like normal, like, oh, bring this next guy in, like next man up in the college, and it doesn't work like that.
No,
not this year, at least.
I mean, sometimes if you get a decent recruiting class, you can pull something off, but. Yeah, even with a regular offseason, that was a tall task for LSU to pull off, and they did not pull it off. So that's not a big game. And I retract that statement. But that's all we have for the other sports. That's pretty big news, things happening around the league. So we're just going to get into NFL news.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of NFL news.
There's a good chunk here, yeah.
I've been seeing the notifications fly across all day, a bunch of crazy things happening.
Oh, yeah.
And I already hate these first two. I mean, I could easily go into a Moran Talks Moron segment on this, but, obviously I won't. The first one is NFL owners unanimously approve playoff expansion if COVID-19 forces cancellation of meaningful games. This will increase the number of teams in the playoffs from 14 to 16. 8 seeds per conference. This would only come to reality if the league would be unable to complete the 256 game season, playing an 18th week.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if it comes down to, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that would be meaningful down the stretch. Thinking. I don't know. What if it's a Eagles Cowboys game that will decide that division?
And they're both six. The Eagles are 6-8 and 1.
Yep.
And the
And the Cowboys are 7-9.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it came down to that, then and they had to cancel it due to COVID,
Mm-hmm.
then that would basically mean, I don't even that still wouldn't even apply in that case because one of those teams would probably still have a bad enough record where they wouldn't even get the wild card spot. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
this is going to be a very specific scenario for this.
Right. I mean, the first team in the game that comes to mind for me is Bills Dolphins Week 17.
Okay.
Because the way the Dolphins are playing, that could be division implications there.
Possibly.
I mean, hopefully the Bills just take it with no issues, but
the one season where the Bills are supposed to run away with it, the Dolphins would. Yeah, the Dolphins would be having the season they're having. Yep.
But okay. It is based on, so basically the playoff expansion is a third option because they're going to play 17 weeks, if possible. They have it built into the schedule for an 18th week in between playoffs. So that's where you get rid of the Pro Bowl. You move the playoffs back. You don't have maybe you don't have 2 weeks now for the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl back a little bit, so that's with an 18th week to get the games in, and then if all else fails, then you look at the playoff expansion.
And I feel like that with the playoff expansion, does that really benefit the team that maybe wouldn't? I guess this is why it would be playoff implications, because it would open up that 8th seed for the team that wouldn't win the division, and they could clanch onto that, that last playoff spot, the 8th seed. But I just go back to, this is very specific. I realize you're just putting this safeguard in here in case, like a 10-6 team gets screwed. 11-5 team just is like, we lost by 1 game, or we were tied, but the other guy got the division record, so he beat us out, and then we missed the playoffs because there's not enough seeding or something. So something like that happens. I understand the concern, but I don't feel like, I feel like this is something we're not going to have to revisit.
Yeah, fingers crossed we don't.
I have a hard time believing that it plays out where we need 8 seeds. That's my opinion.
Yeah,
because I feel like it's gonna create so much chaos around the fans of the NFL. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
already in a crazy season that people think is a fraud because of opt-outs and just COVID in general.
Right.
Games being postponed and all over the place.
Yeah.
And then you just add 8 teams. That's half the league. 16 teams. That would be a playoff scenario, or just a playoffs where it's anyone's game. Half the league makes it. Anything could happen.
That'd be like it's NBA style there.
Yeah, that's nuts. But hopefully we don't have to cross that bridge.
Hopefully.
All right. The other one, which goes back to the beginning of the show, NFL owners also approved a resolution that will award NFL teams compensatory third-round picks if clubs lose minority coaches and or front office executives to head coaching or GM jobs. Is that what it meant? I might have missed that.
No. Basically, teams will get picks if they lose. If another team takes a coach or an offensive executive that's considered a minority, kind of looking at the Rooney Rule here, trying to increase diversity within the league. It makes sense to give them picks right now. I think the NFL needs to look at it and say, we're doing this for now. We're trying to create a more diverse league. We need to do this. We need the diversity in the league in order to be sustainable. Because I think we're getting to the point now where we're teetering on that line of we are almost going away from diversity in this league. It seems like to me a little bit. So you kind of have to make it kind of give them a reward for helping increase the sustainability of the league. And, hopefully they can just kind of slowly take that reward back, and then teams will just automatically have that right mindset. Like, it's like kind of like training your dog to not have an exit in the house, to train them, go to the door, like, so that I know that you want to go outside, and then like you have to give them a treat so that they go to the door so that they can tell you that they need to go out. Well, now, and then eventually you just don't give them a treat, and they just say, "Hey, I gotta go." So then you take them outside. Like, you just get them to learn on their own.
And I just briefly read that it said if they're hired, promoted to a head coaching or GM position, or hired by another team. So I don't know. So I'm trying to think of the scenario. If Eric Bieniemy, as the person that the league is looking at, Eric is going to be a head coach here very soon.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are surprised it wasn't this season that he was hired as a head coach.
Right.
This is the offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs, in case people are wondering.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if Andy Reid decides he's done coaching, which is not a thing. That's just scenario based. Andy Reid's like, I had fun. I'm out of here. And Eric Bieniemy is promoted to the head coaching position of the Kansas City Chiefs. Are the Kansas City Chiefs going to receive a third-round compensatory draft pick?
No.
It's only if they lose them.
They lose them, and if those people go to a different team or different organization, that's where the pick comes in.
Okay, so like if Jacksonville hires Eric Bieniemy,
right, and Kansas
then the
City
Chiefs will receive a third-round pick.
Yes,
but the Jaguars will not. Okay,
maybe the Texans.
Maybe the Texans. Well, the Texans should get one. They got Romeo Crennel. I mean, does interim head coaches count for draft picks? I just saw a lot of people already complaining, because the conversation from the offseason came up about the Rooney Rule.
Yep.
It's just people love to complain about how this creates an unfair job advantage for white people. Because now teams are just going to be favoring black head coaches and GMs because they get something out of it. They're going to get a draft pick if they hire that black head coach instead of the white head coach.
Right.
Look, teams aren't going to do that, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think for a third-round draft pick they're going to hire the worst candidate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A team is not going to jeopardize their franchise and put their team in the hands of a lesser coach so that you can get a third-round draft pick. That's just not the case.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion. So you can relax on that a little bit. Black head coaches and GMs are not going to take over the league for third-round draft picks. My fragile ego. Oh my God, it's going to be all black head coaches. It's not fair anymore. It's not going to happen, folks. If you're really that worried, you can go over to Parler with Trump and complain about it on Parler. Have you heard of that?
No, I have not heard of that.
Oh, you don't know what that is?
No, that is.
Oh, it's a new social media platform for right-wing conservatives.
Oh, geez.
So you know what that is? It's literally a safe space for conservatives.
Oh, boy.
For 4 years, liberals and people were told to go crawl to your safe space by conservatives. And now conservatives have literally created their own safe space.
Yeah. How the irony.
The irony is great. I don't know why I got into that. It's so much fun.
Um,
But yeah, so those are the two things that were approved by NFL owners over the past couple of hours. One of them I don't think we're ever going to see again, and the other one people will forget about in a week. People will forget that it even exists. That's just the reality of it. People will be mad about it right now, but these are things that people do not remember happen come next week. The Steelers.
Oh yeah.
I think the Eagles also had another positive test today.
Yeah, my bad.
What did you drop?
My phone.
Oh, okay.
I was seeing if there's any breaking news, but there wasn't.
Oh no, okay.
Nothing right now.
Nothing yet. It's on. How much breaking news do you get on Tuesdays usually? We get a lot of breaking news.
Usually, it's the day after Monday night game, so it's the first of the next week. So it usually kind of is breaking news, but
I made a banner.
Nice.
That's how much breaking news we usually get.
Yeah.
I've only used it a couple times, but yeah, the Steelers had to place 4 players on their COVID-19 reserve list, and among them is Ben Roethlisberger himself.
Mm-hmm.
They have to isolate for 5 days and will each have to pass COVID tests throughout the week before potentially being able to place in Sunday's game against the Bengals. The 4 players were deemed to have high-risk close contact with Vance McDonald testing positive. So virtually, if you do the math, 5 days, and the only way they can come out of isolation after 5 days is just testing negative.
Mm-hmm.
It's negative. All right, 5 days, you're able to come out. All right, guess what? 5 days later, you're playing the Bengals. Yep. There's no practice this week for Big Ben, Vance McDonald, and whoever the other 2 were.
Yeah, the other 3. It was 5 total. There was 4 players. There's 4 players on top of Vance McDonald because they were in high risk close contact with him. But yeah, I mean, they can still do virtual meetings, but that's about it.
Talk about a week that this is a terrible week for this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The Bengals just got done upsetting the Titans, and now they got a bye week to just kind of sit back, relax, watch the Steelers almost lose to the Cowboys, get some film on them, and then they get to practice all week while Big Ben and 4 others total, I guess, are sitting out of practice. Yeah, they'll do their due diligence and watch film and whatnot, but they're not going to be able to practice.
No.
And against the Bengals, that's not good.
The only plus side to this with Ben Roethlisberger is it's kind of a week to rest his knees.
He did have a little bit of a scare there, didn't he?
Beat up. He's got injured knees, both injured knees right now. So that might help him. I mean, granted, it'll only help him if he tests negative for the next 5 days. So,
yeah, we all know what happens when Mason Rudolph comes into the game for the Steelers. It's what I said right at the beginning of the season. The Steelers can do as well as they want up until Big Ben gets injured, and then it's over.
Yep.
It all comes crumbling to the ground when Big Ben gets hurt. So, and when I saw him go down against the Cowboys and he went into the locker room, whew, my heart sank for Steelers fans. But he came back out. He was okay. Yeah, this is a big deal though. And I feel like playing the Bengals, that's a bad week for this to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, because like you said, the Bengals had the week off, get the bye week, and they kind of have more tape. They got to see there's proof that the Steelers are beatable. The Cowboys
against a 4th string quarterback.
Yeah,
I think if Garrett Gilbert can expose the Steelers, I think Joe Burrow can enhance that a little bit, even go even further.
Yeah, no, I completely agree there. So, yeah, I mean, I think this definitely helps the Bengals kind of help them see that turn that they're looking for this year. And
we're definitely going to be talking about that game in detail because on Thursday's show, hopefully we'll have a little more clarity about if these guys will be playing or not.
Mm-hmm.
As of right now, Odell Beckham Jr. has gone successful surgery for his torn ACL, and his road to recovery begins. My question to you, did Odell Beckham play his last game with the Browns?
I think so.
Yeah. Seems like the writing's on the wall there, right?
I don't know how many more years he has on his contract, because is it going to be a trade? I'm thinking they're going to have to trade him, unless they eat salary cap. And release him.
Yeah, I don't know what the contract scenario is.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. It wasn't like a topic of the season leading up to the season. From what I've heard, that it was a contract year for him. So
right,
I would think that the Browns are going to have to find a suitable partner to trade with, to kind of move on from him. I would think that the Browns next year would look to get younger talent, or people that are younger than Baker Mayfield, in order to like have that veteran rookie presence better.
Yeah,
because I feel like that's part of the issue now, is that you have a lot of more veteran talent, and you have a younger quarterback that doesn't know how to do his job.
That's fair. That's a fair analysis, I believe.
Yeah.
Because Odell does not do good when he's the guy in charge, when he's the veteran presence.
Right.
Because when Daniel Jones came in, we all saw what happened there with the Giants. Was Daniel Jones there for Odell's rookie season or no?
No, that was Eli still.
Oh, okay. So he just blew up by himself. Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought he was there for at least 1 year. Okay. Never mind. But still, he just falls apart when eyes are on him.
Mm-hmm.
He can't be a leader.
Right.
Interesting. Kyle Allen's out for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
He had a Dak Prescott-like injury. I didn't see any pictures, so it must have not been as bad as they thought or they said.
Yeah, they said
the initial tweet was, "Oh my gosh, it's Dak Prescott all over again," but I didn't see any videos or anything.
Right. No, I didn't see anything either. I do know that the doctor said that the severity of the injury wasn't as bad as Dak's when they were doing the surgery. So I guess that is better. It wasn't as severe, but he's looking at least 4 months to recover with no issues. So here goes Alex Smith.
Good Lord. You kind of you knew they weren't going back to Dwayne Haskins, right? There was zero potential that they were going to be like, well, we can't have Alex Smith, the 24/7 starter. He's just not built. He's not ready to be the starter full time. We have to go back to Dwayne. No, no, not the way Ron Rivera has been talking about him.
No. Yeah, I don't even know if they've activated him yet.
That's a good question.
I don't know if he's in practice. I don't know what other quarterbacks are on that team.
No, nobody's talking about Dwayne Haskins anymore, except the last time he was talked about was before the trade deadline, and if Ron Rivera is going to get rid of him before the trade deadline, which they did not.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know who the other backups are. I'm trying to think of those people that are always backups, like the journeyman backup quarterbacks. Who might be there? Is Brandon Weeden there? Is Brandon Weeden still in the league? Probably not. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking he was in Cleveland, but that's not him.
Josh McCown just got picked up by another team.
Really?
He was with the Eagles just sitting at home in Texas, but someone else actually picked him up because he was on practice squad, so he was able to be grabbed by whoever. I don't remember who it was, though. But, yeah, I don't know what the QB situation there. I'm sure the Washington football team will be looking to pick up an extra quarterback here if they haven't already. Oh, yeah. So absolutely. I'll let you do the off the field MVP if you wish. Because this one seems like, this is your team, obviously.
Yeah. So our off the field MVP this week for tonight's show. I mean, it's basically Bills Mafia. To be kind of basically who it is. So a little context here. Josh Allen's grandmother passed away on Saturday, and he notified the team of the situation and immediately told Sean McDermott, he's like, I still want to be out there. My head's still going to be in the game. Like, don't worry about me. Like, I'll be fine. Like, he's playing with a heavy heart, but he decided to play. He could have just been like, you know what, it's too much right now. Like, he was really close with his grandma. So it just shows you the leadership in Josh Allen. And with Bills Mafia hearing that, they reacted by starting a donations page to the, I'm going to say this wrong, I want to say it's O'Shea Children's Hospital in Buffalo. And it was kind of similar to the Andy Dalton donation craze that happened a couple years ago when the Bengals got the Bills into the playoffs, ending the drought. The Bills Mafia donated at $17 increments, Josh Allen's jersey number. And they did it in memory of Josh Allen's grandmother. And, it wasn't just out of the ordinary that Josh Allen, or that they were making donations to the Children's Hospital in Buffalo, because Josh Allen's he's partnered with them multiple times and has done multiple different things with the O'Shea Children's Hospital since being in Buffalo 2 years ago. Like, that's something you don't normally see out of a player, and it's great to see that out of a good player like Josh. So since they started donating Sunday, after 2 days, Bills Mafia has donated more than $200,000 to the O'Shea Children's Hospital. And to put a cherry on top, today is actually the third birthday of the O'Shea Children's Hospital since it was officially open. And they actually sent out a tweet saying how grateful they were, and that they were even ecstatic, and that even non-Bills fans were jumping into the cause and donating as well, just because of how powerful the story was.
200,000. That's a heck of a birthday present.
Yeah.
After a couple of days, you wake up and you have a $200,000+ check.
Yeah, and I think it was just only like 34,000 yesterday morning.
Right, that's what I first saw. I think it was Sunday or Monday. It was like 34, and then they update it, and they're like, "All right, we're up to 64 now, and now 200,000." Yeah,
and Josh Allen tweeted out and like how much he just loves Buffalo and how much he's so appreciative of all the fans that, have donated. And it's just,
I saved the picture of that. He said he's just at a loss for words.
Yeah,
amazing,
absolutely.
And that's what we love. So it's not, it's not a player. Usually our off the field MVP say for players, but I mean, Bills Mafia basically is kind of like Seattle's 12th man. It's kind of like they're always on the field anyways. It's a part of that team. Bills Mafia is a part of the Bills. Mm-hmm. Off the field, not always just smashing tables. Sometimes they're donating to children's hospitals.
Yes.
Shout out to Bills Mafia. $200,000 given to the O'Shea Children's Hospital of Buffalo. Well done, everybody. All right. And that leads us into our recap of Week 9.
Ew.
It was kind of like an in-between week.
Yeah.
I had a couple of good games, and then the rest of it was kind of just like, those games happened, but no one really cares. It all started out with the Packers at the 49ers. The Packers just creamed them 34-17. The score doesn't reflect them getting creamed, but the 49ers, most of their points came late.
Right.
I already went to bed, I think, and I woke up. I was like, "Wow, they scored 17 points. That's pretty surprising." Aaron Rodgers just, it was just a mess. It wasn't really much of a game. We all knew that's what was going to happen, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. The 49ers are I can't say it enough. They have $80 million of cap space on the IR right now.
Yeah.
You can't
rough.
save your team like that.
No, you really can't. I mean, they're just, they just gotta take what they can get. It seems like right now, and just see what they can try and spin the wheel of fortune of who's starting. Who's my starting quarterback? You. All right, let's try this week.
Yeah, they got CJ on one side of the coin and Nick Mullins on the other side of the coin. They just flip it, and they're like, CJ, you're starting this week. Nick, you're going to start this week.
And it lands standing up.
Yeah. All right, doesn't matter who's starting. We're just going to run the ball all day. Yeah. JaMycal Hasty.
Wildcat for every for every play.
Everyone kept saying, the 49ers just have this innate ability, next man up, especially at the running back position. They just cycled through 4 or 5 different running backs, and they've all become like Pro Bowl level running backs. They have finally hit their floor. And I realize some of that goes with the offensive line too, and they're basically being zero threat of a passing game.
Mm-hmm.
But JaMycal Hasty is finally the floor. He can't get going. And especially when you play the Packers, whose run defense allowed 4 touchdowns to Dalvin Cook.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
The 49ers are sad right now. It's unfortunate. It's hard to watch this fall from being Super Bowl contenders to virtually a shell of themselves.
Yeah.
But the Packers look good. Devontae Adams called himself the best wide receiver in football. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to kind of debate it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't sit here and be like he's not the best wide receiver in football because DeAndre Hopkins is not his explosive self, and I think that's because there's so many other options on that Arizona offense.
Right.
I'm trying who else would you put in that conversation? I don't put Michael Thomas in that conversation anymore after the seasons he's had, and it's kind of a mess right now for him.
Yeah. I mean,
DK Metcalf. He's too young to be the best in the league.
he's up and coming best in the league, I feel like. But I mean, I don't.
People like to say Mike Evans. I have not seen anything amazing out of Mike Evans in at least 2 years.
Yeah, he's I don't know. I feel like he's kind of hit his ceiling.
Yeah. And
now that they've thrown so much talent around Tom Brady, it's gonna be kind of hard to break through that ceiling anymore. But I mean, I don't want to sound like a homer, but Stephon Diggs has had one heck of a season.
He's leading the league in yards right now.
Yeah.
He's like top 2 with targets and receptions in pretty much every receiving category.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what he's been though. Like it just didn't change when he left Minnesota. Like that shows you what a good receiver. Doesn't matter what quarterback you have.
It helps when you play Seattle's defense to help pad those stats a bit.
I know, but before Seattle, he was doing pretty well.
Even before Seattle, he was doing very well.
Yeah.
Week 9 bonus from my mom. Carson Wentz had no interceptions. You don't know if that's true. He could have been playing catch in the yard at his house, and he could have thrown an interception. I wouldn't doubt it. Maybe his kids tackled him, and he fumbled the ball. That's a possibility.
There you go.
So we don't know if that's true or not. We don't like to spread fake news on our field. We do real reporting. So I can't confirm that he had no interceptions on his bye week. And apparently it was my mom who played you in fantasy football. Did she keep it close? I mean,
yeah, it was within 10.
Within 10. Mm-hmm. Did her best. Hey, first season of fantasy football for my parents, so they're not doing too bad, I don't think.
Not bad.
Not bad. Keeping up with the 7-2 derf. All right, the Broncos and the Falcons. Just once again, second week in a row with the Falcons, where I'm watching this game late, and I'm doing the math, and I'm like, oh my God, it's one possession game. They're going to blow this.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't. Thank God. So they went from in the beginning of the season, they're like, oh my God, everyone's saying, oh my God, they're going to blow this lead, and they do, to now we're in the middle of the season and everyone's going, oh my God, they're going to blow this lead, and they kind of do, but they don't lose the game. Right. So they're getting better. They're improving.
They're giving up points still, but not letting them take the lead.
Yeah, with 21 points in the fourth quarter given up to the Broncos, but wasn't enough.
Yeah.
This is what I wrote about with the Falcons is the Falcons should be scoring 30-plus points a game, if not reaching 40.
Yeah.
This offense is amazing. Matt Ryan is still a decent quarterback, but you have Calvin Ridley, you have Julio Jones, you have Russell Gage, and then you have the wide receiver's name that I can't pronounce. You have Hayden Hurst at tight end.
I don't know.
Yeah, the guy, he caught 2 touchdown passes last week, but I can't pronounce his name. It's like something weird. He was filling in basically at the third wide receiver spot with Calvin Ridley out. He performed. And then Todd Gurley, if you still think he's a very good running back, he's doing well this season. He's still healthy.
Yeah.
This offense is very good, and they should be able to put up points as much as they want any week in and week out. So they're doing their part. Now it's just a matter if the defense can keep up. In the past 2 weeks, they have.
Yeah. I mean, the Falcons kind of figured it out a little bit better here. Let's see I'm curious to see how long it lasts. See what they can do the rest of the season. Maybe Raheem Morris can turn it around. Get himself a head coaching job again.
Yeah, talk about a guy who might be promoted come the end of the season if they can keep this train rolling.
Yeah.
And after their defensive player there threw a hissy fit about not being traded, they just released him.
Yep.
They're like, oh, you want to complain? Beat it. Don't need that in the locker room.
Nope.
Obviously, the Seahawks lost the Bills 34-44. For some reason, Pete Carroll's,
yeah,
this whole the whole defensive scheme was a disaster.
Yep.
They did nothing right the entire game. I watched it from the first drive to the last drive. The defense was non-existent. They had 8 sacks, a lot of QB pressures. Carlos Dunlap and Jamal Adams coming back from injury obviously played a big role in getting pressure on Josh Allen, but it doesn't help when you get a 8-yard sack and then the next play is a 20-yard pass. It doesn't matter if you can get to the quarterback when you're allowing explosive plays one after another. So that's what happened on defense. With the offense, I don't know. It was just stagnant. They scored 34 points. I don't know how, because when I was watching that game, it did not look like a 34-point performance. So I honestly don't know. How
it was
points up.
Yeah, I think it wasn't. I would say it wasn't like super flashy. It seemed like how they were scoring their points. Like it was very I don't know. To me, I felt like the Bills were doing all these crazy route running, getting these big chunk plays, and the Seahawks were just kind of like, oh, there we go, and all right, now we're gonna run it in or do a little QB sneak for a touchdown. Like it wasn't like anything super fancy, but they, I don't think they could get very fancy because of the pressure the Bills defense started putting on them.
Yeah, Russell Wilson sacked himself 5 times. He had 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles.
Yep.
Russell Wilson's MVP case is dampening, and it's because the defense sucks and the offensive line still sucks.
Yeah.
He can only do so good for so long. And this is what happened last year. You and me discussed it on Sunday. This is when Lamar Jackson took over.
Yeah.
And this is when he ran away with the MVP case because Russell Wilson had a down November. And he came storming back in December, but it wasn't enough. It's happening again. So.
Yep. And probably with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is absolutely lighting up the league right now. Again, nothing new. Random observation, Durf is on the left, Dylan's on the right. Yeah, we had an internet outage, and Durf made it back in first. So
I never left.
Oh, you never left?
No, I kicked you out, so that's why it moved
Oh.
me over as the host.
Yeah. So, oops. Spectrum. Someone we'll never give a sponsorship to. If they come crawling, we'll say no. The Ravens beat the Colts first time ever. Well, in Indianapolis, I think.
Yeah.
I think the record, they were 0-5 against the Colts in Indianapolis. So they finally got the win over the former Baltimore team.
Yeah.
They got their bounce back game after the Steelers lost. Defense looked great.
Mm-hmm.
Offense just once again looked not good. I have a lot of concerns about the Ravens offense, which used to be explosive, and now it's starting to slow down because I think teams are, you keep Lamar in the pocket, or if he's going to run, at least make him run between the tackles and have him throw outside the numbers, because most of these points resulted in turnovers. They had a fumble 6 and they had 2 other turnovers in the game. And yeah, the Colts offense was just garbage, straight up trash.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't a good day for the Colts. I mean, we tried to see a little bit of this game live, like when the Bills Seahawks were on a commercial break.
Trying to fill it back and forth.
Yeah, but every time I flipped the channel, it was always a commercial. And then you wait long enough, and then you're like, oh, we should go back, and then go back to the Bills game just in time. Try to go back just in time, so you didn't really see much. But I mean, it was a low scoring game from what we could see through most of the game, and then you get those key takeaways. You get the defense stepping up finally again, and yeah, I mean that defense is probably going to save the Ravens season.
Kind of like last year.
Yep.
I mean, Lamar and the offense was great, but there was a lot of games where the defense saved the day.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't do it for him in the playoffs, but that's a little different. Josh is in the house.
What's up?
With his I taste disgusting candy corn profile picture. But yeah, Phillip Rivers sucks. The Texans at the Jaguars. That game happened, and it concluded with the Texans winning.
Yep. A lot closer than I probably thought it was going to be, but
honestly, I thought this is the exact kind of game I expected.
Yeah.
A close game because both teams are bad. The only reason this isn't even a takeaway from the actual game itself, but just with the Texans in general, Deshaun Watson came out and said he would have basically raised hell if they would have traded away Will Fuller.
Apparently, they're a little.
You're virtually telling me you would have been more upset if they would have traded Will Fuller, based off of your responses, than you being upset that they traded away DeAndre Hopkins. Because they traded away DeAndre Hopkins and they were like, team decision, sucks to see him go. But then they say we might trade Will Fuller, and he's like, whoa, you better not. But DeAndre Hopkins walking like, all right, I guess I get it. I understand. Will Fuller, don't you dare. I think you got your wide receivers mixed up, Deshaun.
A little bit.
I mean, do you have anything about this game? I didn't watch any of it. It was just
I didn't see any of it. I know the one that they highlights that I saw was Jake Luton, the rookie quarterback, kind of filling in for Minshew because Minshew's hurt. He had a huge touchdown throw to DJ Chark early in the game. I kind of watched the highlight, and it was a solid 35-40 yards just in the air before DJ grabs it in motion and just takes it to the house. Like, you hope there's a good spark there for that quarterback, and that the Jaguars can kind of not secretly tank the rest of the season or trade any more or get rid of any more players, and they can actually be a decent. I'll take a mediocre team over a garbage team, but that's about all I got.
Yeah, not much going on there.
No.
The Chiefs barely beat the Panthers in one of those. If we were kind of sucked into the Bills Seahawks games, so we didn't watch a lot of these 1 o'clockers, but this is one that I wish we could have watched more of.
Yeah.
But basically, the past 2 weeks, they've asked Joey Sly, the Panthers kicker, to do the impossible. The week before, they asked him to kick an NFL record 65-yarder, which was dead straight, but just came up a little short.
Yeah.
And then this week, they asked him to kick a 67-yard field goal for the win, and that was not even close. Patrick Mahomes threw 4 touchdown passes, no interceptions, just looked like amazing again because the run game was non-existent.
Right.
But Patrick Mahomes is lighting up. Travis Kelce had 150-plus yards. Tyreek Hill had 2 touchdown catches. And the Panthers had a good, balanced offense. It's all I wanted to see.
Mm-hmm.
Christian McCaffrey was involved.
Mm-hmm.
He had about 60, 70, 80 yards rushing and receiving somewhere in there. Curtis Samuel had another big day. He really came alive when Christian McCaffrey was out. Yeah. Robbie Anderson had another big day. DJ Moore was a little quiet, but they spread the ball out.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I wanted to see. And they almost beat the Chiefs doing it. Yeah. That is a huge positive sign for this team.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs had to come back a little bit. At the end of the game, the Panthers had to come back to try to win. But, the Panthers were up on them decently before the Chiefs started, starting to get things rolling and getting those points.
Kind of like what we saw in the playoffs last year for the Chiefs.
Right.
Down 20 some odd, down 10, down 10.
Yeah.
Same scenario here.
Yeah. So, maybe that's a Chiefs thing with this team now. I mean, but I like your point there saying that, the Panthers, they were well-rounded. And I think that's what you need to do until you can really get more pieces and really figure out your identity. Be well-rounded. Be able to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then it works together and hopefully win some games. So,
yeah, I feel like the Panthers are starting to take shape of what the Chiefs are, or what the Saints are.
Mm-hmm.
They have a running back that can run and catch the ball, but then you have a lot of pieces on the outside who can do a lot. I think they're missing a tight end.
Yeah,
they're missing their Jared Cook. That's one piece where they need to improve at. They need to work on the offensive line a little bit.
Yep.
But they have great playmakers.
Right.
Between running backs and wide receivers, they're great. So they have a lot of pieces in place. Matt Rule has 7 years to figure it out.
Yep.
6.5. The Lions lost to the Vikings. Dalvin Cook is one of the better running backs in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And no one will deny that. I won't deny that.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I said he shouldn't have got that second contract is because of his injury history.
Mm-hmm.
So he just came back from injury, and then he, for the past 2 weeks is almost over 500 yards of scrimmage yards. Almost over 500. And I believe 7 touchdowns. He had 4 against the Packers and 3 this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But if he doesn't stay healthy, none of it matters. Right now, he's looking amazing.
Yeah, I think that's where you got to. That's the concern with Dalvin Cook. He puts up these great yardage, but it's not sustainable. Whereas, he doesn't take care of himself enough. That's why he's such a high risk for injury. And, he loses these couple games and he gets, 600 yards in 2 or 3 games. And then next thing you know, he's back to the top of the league for rushes. If instead of 600 yards in 3 games, let's do some load management here and do 85 to 100 yards every game, unless he's hot for a game and let him run. But, it seems like he's kind of overdoing it in high intensity or high intense short-term bursts, and that's what gets him in trouble.
I feel like he feels like he has to, and I think the Vikings feel like he has to do that kind of performance because for the past 2 weeks, Kirk Cousins has only attempted 34 passes. He was 11 for 14 last week, and I believe he was 13 of 20 this week. He thrives off of play action. He threw 3 touchdown passes, but only completed 13 passes. That's because Dalvin Cook is rushing for over 200 yards.
Right.
But that's the only way this offense succeeds. If you ask Kirk Cousins to drop back 30, 40 times because Dalvin Cook is not having a good day or he's injured, that's what we saw early on in the season. That's why they were like 1-5 at one point.
Yep.
So the Vikings need Dalvin Cook. But, like you said, maybe it's a him issue. Maybe he's not conditioning right. Maybe he's trying too hard. Whatever the case is, he still looks great. It's a great running back. The Bears lost to the Titans 24-17. All 17 of those points came in the fourth quarter. Titans were playing prevent. Titans bounced back. They had a 2-game losing streak. Finally got the win. Nick Foles threw 52 passes.
Yeah, they were. That's called desperation, and time for Matt Nagy to reconsider play calling and let his offensive coordinator actually do the play calling.
Take away the score, take away every single stat, and just come to me and say Nick Foles threw 52 passes this Sunday. I will tell you that the Bears lost. If your game plan results in Nick Foles throwing 52 passes, I can tell you that they lost. Because if Nick Foles has to throw 52 passes, you're either down by a lot and you're trying to make an epic comeback, or your game plan was just garbage from the start and you lost either way.
Right.
That's the only stat I need to hear.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry rushed for under 100 yards. The Bears defense
68.
did its job. The offense did not.
No.
Offense was...
The real Bears have showed up.
Yep. They were 5-1, and now they're 5-4. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. The Giants played the Washington football team. Alex Smith will be the starter from here on out. He threw 3 interceptions. Nobody cares about this game.
Nope.
The Raiders. I watched this game happen live. The Raiders, if you look at the stats, neither one of these teams had stats that jumped off the sheet at you. It was just a very kind of back and forth game. Let's see who can do what. Let's see what happens here and there. Let's play some slow ball. And it all ended up with the Chargers trying to win the game at the end. And with 1 second on the clock, Justin Herbert throws the ball up to Donald Parham. And they ruled it a catch, but obviously everyone thought it was a catch. People were like, oh my God, it's a catch. When you can, even when the play first happened live, I saw the ball hit the ground. I didn't need slow motion. As soon as that play happened, I looked at Caitlin. I looked at the wife, and I said that he didn't catch that.
Yeah,
I knew it right from the start that he did not catch that ball. And then after replay, obviously, they were winning 32-31 with zeros on the clock. They reviewed it, no catch. Chargers lose again. They have now all of their losses this season have been by a combined 24 points.
Yep, that's the Chargers for you.
That's the definitions of the Chargers. I think I made Lee mad. Lee Stockwell comes in and says, I care about the Giants game. I'm sorry, Lee. Let's go back to the Giants game. The Giants beat the Washington football team. They killed Kyle Allen, ended his year. Alex Smith came in. He threw 3 interceptions. I honestly can't even tell you Daniel Jones' stats. Maybe Lee can tell us.
Yeah, I really don't know him either because I just know that the Giants won. So
no one. Let's do this for Lee real quick because we are over an hour.
Yeah,
but I want to. No turnovers for Daniel Jones.
Oh, well, that's good.
That's a great day then.
That's a positive day for him. That's improvement. That's good to see,
especially against the Washington football team.
Yeah.
23 of 34, 212 yards, 1 touchdown, 14 carries, 68 yards, and 1 touchdown for Wayne Gallman. The leading receiver for the Giants was Austin Mack.
Oh.
Who in God's green earth is Austin Mack?
I think? I don't know.
But that's
I think he's like a 3rd or 4th string receiver, but yeah.
Terry McLaurin, 7 receptions, 115 yards, 1 touchdown. Antonio Gibson was the leading rusher for Washington with 6 carries, 20 yards, and a touchdown. But the Washington football team probably would have won this game if it was not for the 3 interceptions from Alex Smith.
Yeah.
And there's your there's your breakdown. Lee says, I believe the jack-up O-line did a great job with the rookies. Yeah. And I thought that started last week against the Bucs for the Giants. Because just Austin Mack is out of Ohio State, says Lee.
Oh, okay.
Because right before the week that the Giants played the Bucs, I was blowing up about their offensive line, and especially their rookie that they just drafted. And his name escapes me right now. But I said their offensive line.
For the Giants?
Yeah. I bet you Lee could tell us.
Oh, I can tell you it wasn't who I mock draft.
Look at the defense for the Giants in the run game. Yeah, the run game, the Giants' run game defense was great against Antonio.
Yeah.
But yeah, their offensive line was awful the week before the Bucs game, and then they play the Bucs, who has one of the best defensive lines in football, and they protected Daniel Jones like the entire night. The run game was great. And now again against Washington, who has a top defensive line, they protected Daniel Jones against that one. So the offensive line really turned it around. And my mom cares that the Giants won because I lost a must-needed point in my fantasy pool.
Oh.
We picked the Washington football team as well, which I forgot to mention. Durf is up on me a game now.
Yay!
87, 45, and 1, and I'm 86, 46, and 1.
Yeah. Taking those Saints, that helped me.
The Saints did help you. That was nuts. Let's see here. The Dolphins defense stepped up again against the Cardinals, but Tua time was amazing. Tua played great. 2 touchdown passes, very efficient on the day. Kyler Murray was even more efficient. Threw for over 300 yards. I think he threw for 3 touchdowns, maybe 2. And he rushed for over 100 yards and a touchdown. But Zane Gonzalez.
Yep.
How do you come up short on a 49-yard field goal? If you go back 2 weeks when Joey Sly kicked the 65-yarder,
yeah,
and then put it side by side with Zane Gonzalez's 49-yarder, the ball was at the exact same spot, like just short of the goalpost, just under it. So Joey Sly from 16 yards further back hit it to the same spot Zane Gonzalez did on 49-yarder. That's sad. But it was on a 4th and 1. Kyler Murray was running all over Miami, and they decided to kick the field goal to tie instead of giving it to Kyler. And that was a huge mistake, I believe. I personally believe after they made that. And I think Kyler knew that as well because in his post-game interview, Kyler Murray seemed a little not happy. We'll put it that way. But yeah, Dolphins look good. The Cardinals still looked good regardless. So you can't be unhappy with the performance of either team.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Are you scared yet? Are the Bills scared of the Dolphins? Are you scared of the Dolphins? Still got to play them this year.
Not yet.
Not yet. All right, that's fair. The Steelers almost lost to the Cowboys. The Cowboys were a 14-point underdog, and they managed to go all the way until the last play. Garrett Gilbert had a chance to win this on the last play of the game, and almost had a guy too, but Minkah Fitzpatrick stepped in front of the pass, knocked it down. Garrett Gilbert was surprisingly good. He was in the AAF in spring of 2019. The AAF was a thing, guys. Don't ever forget that.
Yeah, he was on the Orlando Apollos, and he was the passing MVP for the AAF when it was still around. When it was around, so he shined on a minor league football scale.
Yeah,
and he was. You could see why NFL teams didn't pick him up right away. Coming out of college, I noticed a lot of his throws. He was throwing down very hard, whereas a lot of quarterbacks only put a little arch to it if they're trying to get into a certain spot. He was just like rocketing it down. I'm like, it's going to hit the ground before it gets to the receiver. You're not giving it enough air. That was something I noticed with his throws, but played one heck of a game.
Yeah.
I was trying and outside the Steelers, that the Steelers were looking a little shaky.
The Steelers are looking very shaky, and Lee comes in with the comment, the Steelers will not win the Super Bowl, mark my quote. They will get there, but will not have the motivation to win the big game. The offense is sus. That's been the defense, I think. The defense still held the Cowboys at 19 points. The defense is like, I still think the defense is top 3, if not top 2, probably right there with the Bucs, but that kind of got shot down this week. I had to reevaluate my top defenses in the league now. But yeah, that offense is very suspect.
Yeah.
Juju Smith-Schuster has not been good ever since Antonio Brown left. Chase Claypool is still a rookie. You can't ask him to score 4 touchdowns every week. Everyone thought he was going to be the rookie of the year after that 4-touchdown performance. Where has he been since? This is why I said stop talking like he's the offensive rookie of the year. He's not.
Right.
He's been virtually invisible since. James Conner did not play well. It's very suspect. Deontay Johnson is pretty good, but Deontay Johnson is in the role Juju Smith-Schuster was with Antonio Brown. So he gets a lot of the attention. Deontay Johnson gets all the secondary cornerback, so he's exploding.
Yep.
It's suspect. I'm concerned, to say the least. The Saints embarrassed the Buccaneers. Tom Brady had his worst ever QBR. It's the first time he's ever been swept by a divisional opponent. It was a historically bad day for Tom Brady. And this hence the name of the episode, The Aura of Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown has been with this team for a week. A week. And he's already having negative implications on this team. It's probably not his fault, but this was bad. This was embarrassing. You cannot say one positive thing about the Buccaneers' performance, and you can say all the positive things about the Saints. Some people are saying the Saints are the team to beat right now. Some people are saying the Saints are a Super Bowl team right now. I will not go that far.
No.
Definitely not. But that was impressive, to say the least. Special teams, defense, offense, they looked great.
Yeah, no, they definitely it very much mirrored week 1. With the Saints and Bucs game. But the Saints, they locked down that Bucs offense even more than what they did in week 1 because the Buccaneers tried to make a comeback, but Tom Brady still threw 3 picks. I'm pretty sure 3 picks.
Sounds right. He threw that late one.
Yeah,
that last one, Antonio Brown stopped on his route.
Yep.
That I watched that entire game. Just wasn't even watching this game waiting for the comeback. I was watching this game just to see if Tom Brady can just get one good drive, can just produce something, and he never could. I'm shocked they weren't shut out.
Yeah, I am a little bit
to get that field goal was shocking.
I know. I watched. I think I only got to about the third quarter, and then I realized, oh, hey, I have to get up at 6 a.m. or 4 a.m., so I should probably go to bed.
Smart decision.
But, I mean, from what I had seen before, I fell asleep, the Bucs offense was the biggest hot mess that we probably have seen them be all year. And something that, kind of Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth talked about was when Brady tried to speed up the tempo of a drive, and the Tampa Bay players, the rest of them, were like, "What are you doing? Like, that's not our style. Like, we're just out here to play. Like, it's there was no urgency." And Tom Brady, in his head, he's like, "I need to score points on this drive, this drive, and this drive in order for us to have a chance." And it seemed like the rest of the guys were kind of like, "Oh yeah, if we score, we score. If not, we'll try again the next drive."
Interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, from what I heard in a recap on another podcast I listened to, they were talking about how like visually upset Al Michaels was at how bad Tom Brady and the Buccaneers team was playing because this was like supposed to be the game for the week.
Yeah.
Like this was the big rivalry this week, and nope.
I remember them saying that. Yeah, multiple times. I believe Al Michaels said that. It's like he said multiple times, even in the first half, we hyped this game up. This is the one we were waiting for, and man, nothing.
Yeah,
nothing. Last but not least, the Patriots squeaked out a win over the Jets. The Patriots did not play well, and LeBron James tweeted Cam Newton and said, "Boy, you balled out all game." Not really. No, not really.
No.
He literally slipped on a 3rd and 1. He just fell down.
Yeah.
So that was fun. But the one thing I've been telling people this, on social media the past 2 days or just the past 24 hours, the Jets lost that game on purpose on national television, and it was obvious. 100%. Yeah. The Jets were dominating this game. You can say they were dominating the game.
Yep.
And then here comes the fourth quarter. On the first possession, the Patriots get it for the first part of the fourth quarter, and they score a touchdown. It was a long drive, ate up most of the clock. The Jets come out. Joe Flacco just throws a deep ball in a double coverage. It's intercepted. First play of their drive. So the Patriots get the ball back, and they go and score a touchdown.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's what made it a tie game. So I think it was just over 2 minutes on the clock. The Patriots have 3 timeouts. The Jets are sitting here like, all right, we have to eat up some clock. We have to get a first down. We could win this game with a first down as long as, the Patriots burn the rest of their timeouts. What do? They come out. They run the ball. No, I don't even know if they ran the ball. I think they threw 3 straight passes. 2 of them. First, the second down pass, Joe Flacco was sacked when he had a wide open wide receiver underneath, which he stared at. It would have been 3rd and 2 if he would have caught that ball at worst case scenario if he got tackled as soon as he caught it. But he decided not to throw that ball and then just spun around and then got sacked. So now on 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, he gets more pressure straight up the gut on a blitz. The offensive line, which has been playing amazing and keeping Joe Flacco clean all game, lets a blitz come right up the middle and almost sacks Joe Flacco, but he throws an incompletion, and it only took up a minute of the clock, which then resulted in the Patriots getting the ball to go down the field very quick, very easily, wide open receiver on the 30-yard line, field goal range. They broke down that play and they said, oh, well, the safety didn't want the guy to get over top of him. They're not trying to go over top of him. They just need to get in field goal range. They don't need a touchdown. They just need to get in field goal range. Why are you afraid of him going over top of you? So the DB goes flying back, and he just finds this 15-yard opening in the middle of the field. They're in field goal range. They win the game. They did that on purpose. The Jets lost that game on purpose, and it was the most obvious thing. And it was embarrassing.
Yeah, it really was, because this was like the winnable game for the Jets. They're going for 0-16 now. They don't care. I really hope Adam Gase is fired on Black Monday, or if he doesn't make it to the end of the season, by all means, let him on his way out. But Greg Williams knows better than that as a defense, and it just proves your point. They did it on purpose. I think the one thing that I saw, I watched about midway through the second quarter, working early again today, and I watched the highlights this morning getting ready for work, and I think the one thing that I saw that I thought was absolutely stunning that they let happen was on a field goal for the Patriots. The Jets had 12 men on the field. How do you have 12 men on the field when it's a special teams unit? Like, who's supposed to be there. Where did this miscommunication come from that there's an extra person on the field right now? Like, that just proves to me that someone said, hey, go out there, and they didn't think about, oh, well, did someone come off? No. Oh, well, oops, my bad.
Not even my bad. He's just like, hey, dude,
Yeah.
Get on the field real quick, go line up so they can
Like
score a touchdown.
it's not even like Mike Vrabel. It's not even in a sense like Mike Vrabel doing it to kill
To
time.
benefit yeah.
It's the Jets just being dumb. And it just makes them look so bad. And I kind of watched Adam Gase's press conference a little bit, as part of the highlights, and he's like, we had some plays out there. We came up with the game plan, and we gave it our best. That is not acceptable for an NFL head coach to be like that.
He's not an NFL head coach.
He's not. And that's the problem. Like, it really made my head scratch when they hired him a couple years ago, because they're like, oh, well, he's the QB. Yeah, he's the QB whisperer. No, he's not.
He never has been.
Like, he wasn't good in Miami. Like, that's why they let him walk. You see Ryan Tannehill walk away from the Dolphins and do well with the Tennessee Titans. There was something wrong with your head coach in Miami, and you let him go to New York, and New York said, oh, sure, come on over. Yeah, why not? Yeah, that's no good.
Yeah, everyone just needs to accept the Jets' goal is literally to go 0-16. Once you realize that, your life will be easier.
I was real good about my pick for the Jets. And then I went to bed and I'm like, oh man, they're playing well.
Did you officially pick the Jets?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to fix your record then.
Oh yeah.
Because I went based off of last week's notes. You changed it to the Jets. Oh, yeah. So we're still tied. I have to change it.
We are tied. Yeah. So I did go Jets because I'm like, this is going to be the game that they're going to win. The Patriots are just falling apart. Like, is it really Bill Belichick's team anymore? Time for Josh Daniels to come in. But, yeah. Yeah,
the Game On Sports podcast, watching us over on Twitch.
Nice.
He said he really thought the Jets were going to win it, but they're the Jets. And, they're the Jets, basically. The Jets will always be the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Durf and Dylan's season game-picking record is still tied, contrary to popular belief. And
contrary to the whiteboard behind Dylan, we are tied, actually.
I'll fix that for Thursday. Don't pay attention to that. And that's our show.
Yeah.
It was a great show. It was a fun show. It was another long show. I don't think we'll ever get this show back under an hour or an hour.
It's not as long. We did a little better this time.
It wasn't an hour 50 like before, at least.
Yes.
But thank you all for joining us. Thursday's show is going to be our Week 10 prep week. It's going to be great. There's going to be a lot of games. I already know a couple games I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
The Bills are on a bye week, not this week, right?
No, I got the Cardinals this week, and then they take their bye.
All right. Well, we'll be back on Thursday because
Mama didn't raise no wussies.